because yeah, that was done through our EFPS next door there. So just retain a copy of it. All right.
As well. So please enjoy today's webinar. And again, thank you to Patrick. I'm going to hand this over to Keith, who is actually a sponsor for our Zoom, and ask Keith to introduce Patrick.
Awesome. Thanks, Dee. I am one of the couple members on the events committee for GBBA. I'm a director with GBBA, and that's the Greater Burnside Business Association. So most of the audience here might be familiar in pre-COVID times with our monthly luncheons that we used to run. Well, in COVID times, we can't offer lunch anymore, and we've discovered that we might, running these webinars at the noontime, we might actually be competing with your interest to get out and get fed. So hopefully this little bit of a time shift, I know I got to try and look at the camera here, works for everybody at 11 o'clock. And we're very happy to be partnered with the Chamber of Commerce, GBBA, and be able to host Patrick Sullivan, who is the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I've been on as an attendee myself on several of his sessions over the last year or so anyway. Very informative speaker, and we've asked him to kind of focus a little bit today for the next 20 or 25 minutes or so on how COVID has affected Burnside specifically, because that's of course who our members are. And then hopefully we'll have time, 10 or 15 minutes for a quick Q&A afterwards. So as Dee mentioned, just a little bit of shameless self-promo. I am the Zoom sponsor for GBBA. So all these sessions brought by myself, Keith McKay. I'm a financial planner with Sun Life. But without any more to do, I'll turn it over to Patrick. Take it away.
Okay. Thanks very much, Keith, and of course, thank you very much, Dee, and to all the members of the GBBA. I suppose we're a proud member of the GBBA, as we are in the heart of Burnside. You can see my background. It's a real background, so those are really cars driving up and down Acreley Boulevard, which kind of shows the activity level in Burnside. But I don't want to get ahead of myself because I actually wrote down a whole bunch of things, and now I feel like I'm actually getting into my speech. So thanks everybody for allowing me to join you this morning. As Keith said, there used to be lunches for the GBBA. There used to be lunches for the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, one of the things we did last week when we had the mayor at the State of the Municipality, when we had the opportunity to hear a little bit from the mayor and then to ask him some difficult questions, was we actually partnered with restaurants to encourage people to order from restaurants so that at least they could feel like it was one of those events that we used to have with lunches and folks together. So just a little bit about me. I've been now president of the Chamber for the last 5 years, but that pales in comparison to Dee's relationship with the Chamber. She's on our membership committee and is an active participant there, and she's an ambassador. And she started out with us. Now they tell me, Dee, that you started out with us in 1990, which is a fair amount of time ago. Although I'm a little confused by the math, because in this it then says that you've been a Chamber volunteer for over 25 years. So maybe you were a member and then a volunteer, but because it's actually 30 years. But let's not go down that path and try and explain that. Nonetheless, thank you very much, Dee, for your continued support of the Chamber. So a little bit about the Chamber, and as I mentioned, we are in the heart of Burnside on Acreley Boulevard. You can see our sign as you're driving up Acreley. We are across from what used to be Dartmouth Surplus. I think Dartmouth Surplus has closed, and there's a lot of construction activity. You may be able to see over my shoulder, our other shoulder, all of the cars that are in Dartmouth Surplus's parking lot as they redo the facility for its new tenants. But we've been around. We've been in Burnside for a long time, and we're here to provide value for our members. So the Chamber is much like the GBBA. We're here to create value and prosperity for our members. We provide the services our members need while advocating for the conditions to enhance private sector growth. And this has certainly been a year of advocacy and advocating for that support with all levels of government. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. We have over 1,750 members across the greater Halifax area and outside of Halifax, down the South Shore, in Cape Breton, and in Prince Edward Island, wherever people would like to have the opportunity to communicate with our members. We have a volunteer board of directors, 15 staff, and we undertake initiatives by request of or on behalf of our diverse membership. To do this, we've tailored programs, expanded our member-to-member marketplace, and created connections. We also help our members grow through programs, strategies, and help expand their influence to policymakers. I'll talk a little bit more about what we can actually do for all of you as chamber members. And I know many of you are already chamber members, but would encourage you to take advantage of that relationship to build your business. You know, what I like to say is we're here to help you network or communicate with our members so that ultimately you can kind of increase that top line. We're also here to help you manage some of those expenses so you can ensure that you have a bigger bottom line as time goes on. We are a group, though, of small businesses, which often surprises even our members. Over 83% of the businesses within the chamber that are members are 25 employees or less. And we're proud to offer all of the member benefits that those over 1,750 members would get to all of their employees as well. As Keith mentioned, as I spoke about lunch, we normally host over 100 events a year. But of course, this year we shifted to virtual webinars and still are focused on those virtual webinars. In fact, just an hour ago, I think an hour and a half ago, we had a webinar with CRA to discuss what the rent subsidy was and how the rent subsidy worked, to kind of further explain that to our members. So you take a look at some of those activities or some of those events because there's some good stuff in there to help your business. We've had many webinars now. In fact, at the beginning, we hosted almost 3 a week for the first few months of the pandemic to answer our members' questions and keep them engaged. And we're still doing that. We talk to lawyers about labor law, tax specialists about CERB, psychologists and counselors about mental health. And we really filled the calendar with informative and useful tips to surviving in a pandemic, both as a business and as an individual. We put together a resource page, and I'm going to show you that again as we get to the end of this conversation for you to take a look at. But a resource page on all of the new funding programs and other COVID updates, so everyone can easily access what they were looking for. And if you remember back to the beginning of the pandemic, and we're now coming up on a year, I think March 16th was the day we went home at the Chamber of Commerce, although we've been back now for a significant period of time. But we knew we needed to provide information for our members and for all of the businesses in the area, because there were so many changes and so many activities happening out there. And there's still a lot of change happening. I think just when we thought we didn't have to send out another email, the federal government would announce a new program or the provincial government. So lots of change. We did send out emails on any new announcements or changes that people needed to know. And in fact, in last March, we founded a group that we now call the Nova Scotia Business Labor Economic Coalition, which we formed to become a point of contact for government as they made rapid decisions. And those decisions, if you again remember that time, were very, very rapid. It may not have seemed that way in March and into April, but to get government to announce programs like wage subsidies and like loan programs in such a relatively short period of time was pretty amazing. But even then, we had conversations with folks like the province of Nova Scotia who said, we want to have a rent program for small businesses in Nova Scotia. And that rent program will depend on a number of things. And one of the things that they said was important was to have companies of 5 employees or larger. Now, that may not necessarily be an issue in Burnside, but we gave them immediate feedback on that call with the Nova Scotia Business Labor Economic Coalition that 5 people was simply too many. There were organizations or cafes and restaurants that didn't employ 5 full-time staff. And frankly, within 45 minutes, the provincial government came back and said, we're going to waive that. We're not going to worry about that, the limit on employees again, so that they could start to provide that information. So this group, we call it NS Black, is still meeting. We met again yesterday. We have over 200 people that are invited to that who are pan-provincial now. So we have folks from the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce to the Cape Breton Chamber of Commerce, the Cape Breton Partnership, and everywhere in between. The Restaurant Association, Halifax Partnership, all of the folks who would have an interest in learning more about what government's thinking and be able to provide that feedback. It was designed to be more associations and groups than individual businesses, but these levels of government, including the federal government, the provincial government, through a couple of deputy ministers, often the mayor, so the municipality, and then roughly 80 people who are now meeting on a regular basis, can really influence policymaking in real time and relay that information back to the business community. Yesterday we had our 76th meeting, so a significant number of meetings. That again, we use that information to convey that to our members or anyone who's signed up for the mailing list. We've kind of expanded that over time. We've also partnered recently with Simplycast, who used to occupy space in Burnside, who are slightly outside of Burnside now on Main Street in downtown Dartmouth, and ACOA to offer all of our members a business digitization recovery project. So if you don't know about that, you should check it out on the website. It's about a $2,000 value that comes to you for free. So it's a good opportunity to kind of communicate with your customers. Simplycast are the same group that if you've gone to a restaurant lately, have introduced a program where you can text as you walk into a restaurant to kind of save you signing in and save the restaurants from keeping records in case of an exposure of COVID. Businesses, as we think about the digitization, really do need to adjust their strategies to secure customers and their supply chains in response to what we're seeing out there today. The program supports member businesses by providing an array of easy-to-use digital tools that they can use for operations, logistics, and automated marketing. So also appointment booking and marketing campaigns. During those first few months of the pandemic, we weren't sure how long this would last. I know during those first few months of the pandemic, I didn't think we'd still be having these conversations in February of the following year, and I'm sure most of you hoped we wouldn't be either, but yet we are. And we've seen a lot of change. We've seen impact to highly affected sectors like hotels, restaurants, anyone in the tourism and hospitality business, I suppose, has been significantly impacted by COVID and continues to be. And of course, all of us are impacted by the changes in our space, in our activities, in our, if it's not testing, it's at least questioning some of our employees and relying on them to remain healthy. We introduced a waived membership fee program for our members in those highly impacted industries that has now cost us, although we're pleased to pay it, almost $100,000 a year. So we've offered, again, those restaurants, hotels, anyone who's been significantly impacted, the opportunity to waive their membership for a year. And we've seen over 200 members take advantage and not have to worry about their membership fees with the chamber. Of course, many members, and this surprised us a little bit, who were in those sectors, actually came back to us and said, given the amount of information that you're putting out, we're really happy to continue to pay our membership to ensure that we continue to get that information. But in Burnside, it really seemed that nothing could slow us down, not even a pandemic. And I don't remember the numbers, but I know, I think our VP of Marketing, Becky gave me some information, and this was quite a while ago, that showed traffic counts. And it showed traffic counts on Barrington Street, where there were billboards, and it showed traffic counts in Burnside, where there were billboards. And the traffic counts on Barrington Street that led to downtown were something like and I'm not going to get the numbers right now, but they were something like in the 25 to 30% of normal traffic flows, because frankly, people just were not continuing to go downtown. But in Burnside, those numbers, oh, there you go. Becky's got the numbers right. But in Burnside, those numbers were up to 85%. I hope I'm going to get it right, but it was a big number. It was certainly a big number. I should open the chat to make sure I'm not misquoting Becky as she puts that information out there. And look, there she also said, and that was down to 4% at the airport. But in Burnside, we continued to see great numbers because, frankly, people continued to come to work as we have transportation and we have manufacturing and all of those kinds of things. So construction, transportation, manufacturing. I'm sorry, I've actually got it written down here, and now I see it in Becky's numbers. So 80% of the traffic still remained, and 4% only, going to the airport. So, Burnside, the airport often talks about the economic generator that they are, and they are. But let's face it, now we know what the real economic generator is in the greater Halifax area, with 80% of traffic maintained. I do want to talk about a few Burnside businesses who actually survived and thrived in 2020. Since the start of 2020, Kitchen Door expanded their ready-made meals, their chef-curated holiday entertaining menus, and introduced virtual cooking classes and experience. They've got a new e-commerce platform that was a huge part of their pivot during the pandemic, and it allowed customers from across HRM to simply order, receive, and enjoy delicious meals from the safety of their home through contactless curbside pickup and delivery. The company also switched to a virtual model for their cooking classes. I should have probably signed up, allowing guests to interact and cook alongside their chefs in an intimate at-home experience. And one of the most significant changes for Kitchen Door was making the switch from food service to food manufacturing. As we've all seen, food service, unfortunately, has been down significantly with the decline in local restaurants. And they had a partnership with Yo-Yo Cookies, a company based out of Murray Harbour, PEI. And Kitchen Door now has a full-time team devoted to making, packaging, and distributing Yo-Yo cookies throughout Atlantic Canada. Another company, Simplicity, owned by Matt Sims, who many of you might know, acquired United Sign and Trim Line in January of last year. They were headed for their best month ever as a company in March, when unfortunately the rug was kind of pulled out from under them, and their entire workload was either canceled or put on hold. So that's a significant change, but they discovered or determined perhaps they could make shields with their equipment. And while the world's supply chain was in chaos, they actually did produce face shields shields. I think shields for stores, securing some major contracts in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. They then used United Sign and Trim Line as a beta test center for marked safe installation to ensure they could help businesses get back up and running. And we did have Matt talk about that marked safe program a number of times on some of our webinars, actually. And they helped more than 300 businesses get back on their feet. They used their access to PPE and its capabilities to help organizations physically prepare for reopening with signage and protective barriers. And now they're back working with companies on their signage. Then, as a slightly different turn, I suppose, when you think of all of the different businesses that are in Burnside, the Nova Scotia SPCA, they didn't close. They can't close. They can't shut down. They can't stop. They ran two major fundraising campaigns, once for a hoarding situation where they rescued 72 cats, and once for a severely malnourished dog. And of course, they do have ongoing, they provide ongoing support to animals throughout the area. They responded quickly, took to social media, and the community responded. And on top of all that, they opened a not-for-profit veterinary clinic, a clinic to help ensure pets get the medical attention they need, regardless of the financial situation of their owners. And that'll help reduce the number of homeless animals in the community, which is a pretty significant need that they've supported. The clinic that they've launched is the first social enterprise animal hospital in Atlantic Canada. So again, a lot of change in the area. Last spring, we interviewed McBurney's Pools and Spas, for our monthly publication, Business Voice. I think they had a nice, I'm trying to riff there on the cover. They certainly had a great big picture inside. They switched to curbside pickup, and they have now said that they were very lucky to be in the leisure industry, as it seemed everyone wanted a spool. I think they mean pool, a pool or a hot tub last year. So, supply actually became an issue since hot tub demand pushed into manufacturing this year. But they recently celebrated their 40th anniversary, and they've been in Burnside since 1996. And then finally, at the foot of Burnside, although also supported at many of the restaurants inside Burnside, is Propeller Brewing, who started offering delivery, curbside pickup, and even opened a new location on Quimple Road during the pandemic. So a lot of activity there. That's for sure. I wanted to remind everybody about our upcoming Halifax Business Awards, which is coming up on March 25th. We normally have our Business Awards in January. We postponed it to March in the hope that we could actually do it in person. That is increasingly unlikely, but tickets are free, so that will be a great opportunity. And we are selling celebration boxes from Scanway and from Liquid Assets, charcuterie, and alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverages. And I'm sure Propeller will be included in some of those as well. And we're actually going to do a quick prize draw, although no one has given me tickets, but I'll get Becky to figure that out since I know she's on the line. We're going to do a quick prize draw for 2 tickets to our virtual Wonder Women conference happening tomorrow. So I'll have to get Dee and or Becky to kind of figure out how we're going to draw for the number of people that are attending today, if you'd like to attend Wonder Women tomorrow. I did want to mention, if I could just share my screen. Keith asked if I had slides, and I don't, but I do want to share my screen just to show you one page that I want you to kind of keep in mind. Can you guys see that? You can just nod, Keith. Yeah. Okay, great. So you can see the our COVID page. So this is our COVID-19 information. We have lots of great info here on programs and resources. Things like from the federal government, and just to give you some perspective. I mean, the province of Nova Scotia has done a great job on the health side. The federal government have done a wonderful job of providing support to businesses. And they've done that through things, and I'm not going to go through these individually, but things like the emergency business account loan. So if you haven't taken advantage of that, I would encourage you to do it. It's an option for you to get a loan for up to $40,000 initially. It's now been added to the tune of another $20,000, so you can get up to $60,000 in a loan, and you get to keep $20,000 of that. So you only have to repay $40,000. So see, Keith is a financial planner. He's nodding his head. So do take advantage of that opportunity. The rent subsidy, it's a little more complex, and I won't go into that, but that's certainly an option. The wage subsidy, we at the Chamber took advantage of the wage subsidy last year. Remember, when this all started, we had no idea, where we were going to end the year or what was going to happen. But I would, so we did take advantage of the wage subsidy. And first we knew the wage subsidy would be available for 3 months. And then we didn't know what was going to happen. And then we knew it was going to be available for another couple of months, and we didn't know what was going to happen. We get almost $600,000 of our revenue from events. And frankly, that has disappeared. So we wanted to keep our staff employed. We wanted to keep providing the support that we provide for all of our members. So we did take advantage of the wage subsidy. It has put us in a good place for 2020. But frankly, as we project forward for 2021, our expectation is that we will be at a loss of between $200,000 or $300,000 for this year. So the money that we got last year for the wage subsidy is going to allow us to continue to provide that support for our members as we move forward. So take a look at that if you haven't already. I won't go through all of these things in detail, but there are a lot of things and options. ACOA has a program called the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. If you are a business that wants to expand your business during COVID, you should be talking to ACOA. You should be talking about what they can do to support your business, whether it's through equipment or inventory or even programs, marketing programs. If you're a Black business owner or entrepreneur, there's a new program called the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Program that's being supported by ACOA and by the Black Business Initiative. Some of the other programs that are available, Can Export SME program, and I'm going to get some of these wrong, but I know if we all used to go to other locations to help with our exports, now you can actually do some of that virtually, and the government will provide you with funds to do some of that virtually. I can't help but make a plug here, and as you drive by our office, you'll see our sign for our Trade Accelerator program. If you are a business that already exports or is interested in learning to export, we have another Trade Accelerator program beginning, I'm not sure, but Becky can correct me, I think it's sometime in May. And it is kind of an executive MBA for export. So within 6 or 7 weeks, and it's only 6 or 7 sessions of half day, you will have an export plan that's been vetted by experts in the exporting category to help you build your business. So take a look at some of that. The provincial resources, there are some programs, not many of those are available right this minute, but the provincial government has provided some programs. Certainly one, if you're a hotel, that's still available is the tourism accommodations real property tax rebate. That is still available. So take a look at that. I think I'm gonna call it quits now and see if there are some questions or comments. I do, just before I do that, sorry Keith, I know I said I would do that. I do want to encourage you all, do take a look at all, I know many of you are chamber members. We want you to participate in the chamber. We want you to submit information to us so we can promote your business. We want you to tag us on social media so we can promote your business to our 13,000 followers. We want you to provide information so we can put it in our magazine or in our newspaper. We need content, we need information, we need to know more about our members so we can promote them and ultimately build your business. And again, what better place to promote than what we now know is the economic engine for the greater Halifax area right here in Burnside. So there we go. I'll call it quits at that point.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. So I'm just going to bring on my partner here. There she is, Jackie Norman. She's my partner in crime when it comes to the events committee for GBBA, and we're going to handle what I imagine a lot of presenters think is the scariest part of a presentation, some Q&A, because you don't know what's coming at you. So I'll encourage everybody that's on, all the attendees, you can enter your questions for Patrick in either, we're going to watch the Q&A or the chat box, whichever works for you. Probably easiest if we keep it to the chat box. That's what I'm looking at right here. And then we can fire those at Patrick and he can try and answer as best he can. First one to get started, from my top of my head, I heard a rumor, and I don't know if Patrick knows any more about it, but he might be in a position that would. Any truth to the rumor that Amazon might be coming to Burnside sometime in the near future?
I think, well, I have heard a rumor as well. I think they're definitely looking at building a warehouse.
Yeah.
And whether it's a transfer facility or but yeah, I think it's coming. And I think we'll be excited to have it. I mean, there are some huge Amazon warehouses, and it would be great, to have them here, because one of the things that we've been advocating for is buy local.
Yep.
It would be great to have Amazon actually have staff here, since there's a lot of people that are ordering from Amazon right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Pat. Patrick, I'll toss it to Jackie. You have a question or two at this point?
I do. First, I'll just say, as CEO at Safety Services Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Coalition on the economy, the meetings and so on that the Chamber hosted and is still hosting. I don't think any of us thought this would be going on for into a year, but we're so invaluable in just learning everything that was available and having access to the government officials and so on. So, just a great job on that. That was so invaluable. And I think, you've been able to bring together a community of business people that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do so. And fortunate, to be in Burnside, because I think, Burnside shows its resilience, and, it was a vibrant business community. Even during the pandemic, there was quite a bit going on, as you said. I wonder, Patrick, if you have any information or data on, what's going to happen with the working at home, and you hear so many stories about downtown suffering, but also just generally, businesses that are maybe new and going to start up in Burnside, which, a lot of business depend on employees being at work.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think really an open question right now, Jackie. I don't think anybody really knows, because I've actually heard both. See, hard to show my hands here, I guess, on this, but I've heard both sides of the coin. I've heard people say that they're actually going to encourage their workers to continue to work from home because it saves them a little bit of cost, and some of those workers are happy to work from home. And I've actually heard other people say that they actually want to get their folks back together and have that kind of greater communication. And it also presents a significant opportunity, I think, for places like Nova Scotia that in the past have, let's face it, it's a 2-hour flight from Toronto, but now we're only a Zoom call away. So can you have an office of people in Halifax that can communicate just as effectively with another office in Calgary? Or, we talked about Amazon. There's a lot of, there have been issues with immigration into the United States. And I know there are folks who are setting up smaller offices in Canada because the immigration policies are a little bit easier. So I think it's still really an open question. I can't help but actually be optimistic. I'm naturally an optimistic person. So I actually think that, we're going to see increased growth, significantly increased growth in Nova Scotia in the coming years. We've got a population that's increasing significantly. I was speaking to Wendy Luther the other day at the Halifax Partnership, and there are over 17 companies that have moved to Halifax in the last 12 months. I'm unsure where all of those organizations are moving, but I know those organizations plan to employ over 1,000 people in the next few years. So growth is happening in Halifax, and it may be offset a little bit by kind of the working from home, but I'm pretty optimistic that we will continue to see growth in Burnside particularly, but also in the downtown core. Just to touch on the downtown core as well. I mean, we do have a fairly high vacancy rate, but eventually, what will happen is some of that office space will likely transition to residential, one way or another, residential or hotel, which is what they're doing in other regions.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I know, at my organization, we're sort of doing a combination with some flexible work, and that balance seems to work for everyone, and we definitely see some benefits from that. Not seeing any other questions in the chat right now, but please ask some questions in there. We do have quite a few people online here. Patrick, did you have any information or any insights into the Burnside connector? Because I think that's going to be really, really crucial for Burnside Park in the future.
Yeah, especially for those of us that live in Bedford. I think I don't really have any insight, except to say I believe we'll know more as we see what the government spending plans are with the budget that'll likely be available within the next 6 weeks. So when we start to see the capital projects, I know I drove by the other day and I saw that great big beautiful sign on Acrely that says it's coming. We just need to find out when it's coming. And I don't really have any details at this point. That's for sure.
There certainly is construction going on as we speak. There's things happening in that
Well,
area.
I was going to say, I know I occasionally drive by and see trucks down there now, which I never used to see. So you're absolutely right, Dee.
Yeah, there's work going on for sure.
Yeah.
Becky asked, and I'm not that familiar with it, but Becky asked a question around the Simply Cast program and how people can get involved in that.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. The Simply Cast, well, maybe it's, I don't know if she put a link in there, so I'm just wondering if that would actually pop up. No, it doesn't. So that's the Trade Accelerator program. If you click on the link, so the Simply Cast program, I guess I should know the answer to that. I'll ask Becky to kind of put up a link to that. But we are doing webinars, so we can communicate with Dee and let folks know when the next webinar is for the Simply Cast program. And it's a pretty cool program because it enables you to book some appointments. I know when people were coming out of the pandemic, and this is the one example I can think of, it may not necessarily apply to all businesses in Burnside, but hairstylists were reopening and everybody wanted to get in the first day. So they were staggering their opening. And what the SimplyCast program allowed them to do was to send a text message to all of their customers sort of over time and offer them a different time to be able to come in. So it enabled them to kind of digitize, if you will, that communication with their customers in a really effective way. So that was great.
So Susan said that she would ask TIR for an update on the Burnside connector and get information to Dee, and then therefore we can get that out to our membership and to you at the chamber as well.
Yeah, that's great. I think that will make a real difference, especially, I mean, we already have great highway access in Burnside, but it'll just be another way to get highway access. It's going to be great.
We'll certainly make sure that everyone gets that information on our newsletter. As we do a newsletter every month, we try and add information about new things happening, like who's going next door, Pat, at the old surplus. Right. Do you know?
Right.
Do you know?
No, I think I do know. I thought it was, although I don't want to be misquoted, so I could be wrong, but I thought it was, there's a company that rents equipment for concerts. And I thought they were moving out of one space and into that space, but I'm unsure.
Okay, but for sure we'll get the information in regards to the connector, because that's stuff that we try and keep on top of. Actually, in our newsletter, we try and keep on top of new buildings that are going up, get pictures of them, and let people know who's going in there. People love to know what's going on in the park when there's a new building. Absolutely. Making sure that they get involved in that.
On that front too, I should mention and give kudos to the investment that we did see at the beginning, like in the height of the pandemic, down on the bottom of the park. Office Interiors, I believe, they put up a brand new building. So got out of the space that they were in right next door and made the major investment to put up a brand new building in the height of the pandemic back September, October, I believe it was. And that building's almost complete now. So it shows great thoughts and prospects for business in Burnside, which is awesome to see. We do have a question from Dennis that he's asking, of the 17 businesses that you mentioned are coming, any idea what type of businesses and who that are setting up?
I don't actually. So I know I got the quote from Wendy, but I did not get the list of businesses, but we'll follow up and we'll get that list of businesses. I think it's important that we all know who's coming, actually, for some of us, because we might want to talk to those businesses, and for others who may have space, so we'll find out for sure.
Awesome. And just kind of circling back to the Burnside Connector, I know we at GBBA had a update from, I believe, folks at TIR some time ago, probably about a year or so ago now. But it's it's a different schematic than what a lot of people are thinking. There's actually a whole lot that is going on in behind the scenes from what you can see at the bottom of Burnside Drive. That's actually, there's a piece that's going to come over from the 118 and connect over in behind the scene, well in behind the scenes there. So getting the end of Burnside Drive finished off there by Leon's is actually kind of the end piece there, to that. But we're hoping that will be finished off in the very near future, because it's been well anticipated. So it should give an opportunity as well for us. We're so Jackie and I and the events committee with GBBA are also trying to keep this webinar value going for people, and we've been lucky enough to partner with, we appreciate the partnership with Chamber of Commerce. We've also partnered with Better Business Bureau, and we're happy to have Kristen Matthews we're in a series of sessions about every 2 weeks now for the next 4 weeks. And she's going to be doing a session all about the riskiest business scams. It is Fraud Awareness Month in March, and we've got her hosting exactly 2 weeks from now. And then 2 weeks after that, on March 18th, there's going to be a session hosted by yours truly and another one of our directors, Earl McLeod from MNP. We're going to be talking about everything that you need to know with regards to personal and business, perhaps income tax filing, just ahead of the deadline. So those are coming up in the near future as well. And you should have gotten hopefully an email blast in that last little while, just letting you know about the next one coming up. So register for those. So we're still keeping an eye. We've got another few minutes for Q&A with Patrick. So if any of the attendees here do have any questions, a great opportunity to get some insight from one of the leaders of a great organization here in Halifax. As I say, I've been on several of his sessions over the last year or so anyway, and definitely an informed man.
we all look to Patrick for the answers, don't we, Patrick?
Yes, well, and you mentioned taxes and sort of all kinds of things that are happening. And we found out the other day as we were having our audit done, this may be interesting for the people that are on the line, we found out that there's a new form that CRA requires that is called a Form PD27, and employers need to complete this form in order to avoid receiving a discrepancy notice for CRA. So it's about remuneration paid to employees. So that's a PD27 form. You should all note it, and you should all ask your accountants if they filled it out, because I can tell you when we were talking to the accountants that are our auditors, who happen to be MNP at the top of the park, they mentioned that they've only recently learned about this form, and this is not something that many payroll providers, I think we work with Ceridian, but many payroll providers feel is their responsibility. So it is the employer's responsibility to fill out this form, and it's a new form for CRA. So, and CRA, lovely people, but I don't think they've distributed enough information yet on this form. So anyway, sorry, I know that's completely off topic, but it was a surprise to me that this form was needed. So I just thought some of your viewers may be interested in that.
Something we have to look into for sure.
Yeah.
You're a business owner. I just wanted to certainly say the GBBA is absolutely thrilled to be partner with the Halifax Chamber of Commerce and in what they do, and certainly we are on the weekly call, the NS Black. We're on the call every week to make sure that we keep in touch, and I'm able to forward that information off to the members. One of the wonderful partnerships that we have with the Chamber of Commerce is the opportunity, as if you're a member of the GBBA, you're able to get a discount on your membership with the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. I know memberships have been all over the map this year. We're really not being sticklers about membership, but certainly, as you know, as a nonprofit, we run on our membership revenues and on our luncheon revenues. Yay! but anyway, we want to certainly thank Patrick and the Halifax Chamber of Commerce for their partnership with us.
Great.
It's been great. Well, we're a quiet group today. What's up with that? That's not like us.
Oh, I see a new question from Jerry.
Okay.
Did you see that question there,
Yeah.
Jackie? Or
Want to
Yeah.
read that?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so Jerry is asking, have you heard anything about how the increased deficits experienced by HRM in the province will affect support for business programs and initiatives, or for the public services affecting Burnside?
I have not heard specifically, but I'll kind of give you a bit of feedback on kind of what we're suggesting. So we recently submitted our municipal issue note to the city as they are doing their budgeting. And our suggestion to the city that may impact businesses was that they have a 0% commercial tax increase. So the suggestion from staff at this point was a 1.9% increase for residential taxes and a 1.9% increase for business tax, commercial taxes. On a house or on a resident, that's about $38. On a business, it's about $817. And that's the average. So obviously for business, from some businesses in Burnside, it could be a lot more. The problem the city has is they are unable to kind of pick and choose segments of the commercial tax base. They can't just give a break to restaurants, let's say. They have to provide a break to everyone. So our suggestion is, okay, that's fine. Provide a break to everyone. On the commercial side, it's been a tough year. You know, this represents about a $4 million hit on a $1 billion budget that the city has. And we think they can find the $4 million. And for perspective, commercial taxes are about 3 times the rate of residential taxes already. So we think they can find that money. We hope they can, to support local businesses. And the impact, we don't think there'll be significant impact on the municipal side. On the provincial side, you know, they have released that they are sitting at about an $800 million deficit. Of that $800 million, for perspective, roughly 350 or $400 million of that is HST numbers that are down. As the economy comes back, that spending will come back. So I actually think Nova Scotia is in a pretty good place fiscally, even with an $800 million deficit. I mean, that's a tough place to be, but a lot of that money will come back. And they've also received a lot of support from the federal government, as have businesses, actually. So when I talk about the Canadian Emergency Business Account, the federal government has delivered over $700 million to businesses in Nova Scotia through that emergency business account. So a significant amount of money. And I think the wage subsidies provided almost $500 million to businesses in Nova Scotia. So there has been some money that has flowed to business, which is great. There's also been money, you know, $300 to $400 million from the federal government to healthcare. That was not recognized in the $800 million deficit. So, you know, I know I'm tossing around a lot of numbers. Basically, the province said they've got an $800 million deficit. When you kind of cut into it, and you take out the money from the federal government and you take out the HST, you know, it'll be a $200 to $300 million deficit, and that's bad. But Nova Scotia was in a pretty good place fiscally, and I think they'll get back to it pretty quickly. You know, all the economists are saying, and I think this is something to look forward to, all the economists are saying that the tail end of this year, we should start to see activity ramp up, and we should see demand accelerate as we get into 2022 quite significantly. So I feel pretty good about that, you know, as we look forward.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, that's, you know, I think Nova Scotia, certainly, you know, there is some optimism for us to look ahead at. We do have a question from Dennis. He wants to get back to the expressway. Will additional lands be available for the expansion of Burnside? And Patrick, I'm not sure if you are aware of that. Keith may have some information on that as well.
I think you guys may have a better idea of that than I do.
My understanding is that that's probably not going to be the case in the early stages. That was my understanding because of the land hold on the periphery of both sides. There's some issues there. So my understanding is that probably not in the early stages.
Okay, thanks, Dee.
Yeah,
Any
I guess, sorry,
questions?
I guess I concur with Dee from what I understand of it at this point as well.
Just looking at the time here. So any last minute questions? Not seeing anything. I certainly want to thank Patrick for his time, and Dee's already expressed thanks for our partnership and so on, and what I see as an ongoing relationship here in Burnside. I think it's beneficial to both parties. I do want to remind everybody, Keith mentioned about the upcoming webinars that we have going on. The March 4th by the Better Business Bureau is going to be about frauds and scams, and what they're telling us is, during COVID, people came up with new ways to fraud government or to fraud business and scams as well. So that should be really interesting. I think information that we would all like to have. And March 18th with Keith and Earl, we'll be getting into tax season and talking about everything taxes. So thanks to everybody. If anybody has any last words, Keith or Dee, otherwise we can sign off.
Awesome. Yeah. Nothing else coming up in the chat box or Q&A there. So very informative. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the session with Patrick today. It has been recorded. I can officially, and we'll figure out how to make that available as well for anybody after the fact. And yeah, appreciate everybody's involvement today. And we'll give you back, as they say these days, about 5 minutes of your day. Let you get off to lunch a little bit early today.
Yes,
Thanks, everybody.
yes. Thanks for your participation.
See you later.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.